Hello and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror movie and they discuss it. Today we are talking about 1994's Ed Wood, which was directed by Tim Burton. I'm your co-host Alec.
I'm Eric, and with us again is Joe Testa. Joe, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, guys. Good to be back. It's been a while.
I know. What was the last one we did with you? Was it Dark City?
Yeah. Or the Scream series. Which one was it?
I think Scream was after Dark City, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
yeah.
Dude. No, but I love it, Joe. You've been here, basically since the beginning. You've been here for some good, some bad, some ugly, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I like to consider myself one of the twisted members of the family.
Oh, 100%, dude. We wouldn't have a face without you, Joe. You're like our leather face, kind of. You made our face.
Oh, that's right. The logo.
Yeah.
Very true.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And you've recommended like countless amazing movies, and add another one to the list, Ed Wood. Mm-hmm. What a movie, dude.
Yeah. Is this a first time for anybody?
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Joe, not only is this a first time for me, I honestly had no idea what this movie was about. Like going into it, I've heard of Ed Wood. I know Johnny Depp was in it. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, this is about like Bela Lugosi and like Universal horror movies. I had no idea. Totally honest about that.
I'm always really excited when I could introduce one of my favorites to someone totally unsuspecting. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm not going to be doing a lot of talking this part. I just want to sit back and listen. Like that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, this movie, same for me. I had never seen it, but I always thought I had, and I guess I confused this with Dead Man.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've actually never seen Dead Man. One of the few Depp movies from this era that got by me.
Yep, in my mind, I just combined the two, and I was like, yeah, I've seen Ed Wood, and then I was like, no, I've seen Dead Man, because it's black and white Johnny Depp, and it came out in the early 90s, so never saw this, and I'm so glad I did, because it's so good.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites, and it's, obviously we've talked about Burton before, but when this came out, he was pretty much my favorite filmmaker on the planet at this time, and he was on such a run. I mean, some people may argue this was kind of the end of his run, his really like classic run. I would argue that, Sleepy Hollow, which came out after this, is still up there for me, but you can make an argument that this was like him at the peak of his powers.
What about like Mars Attack? Mars Attack was great.
Yeah, that's true. That comes next, and yeah, that's a fun movie, but for me, a little bit of a step down.
Yeah, it is cheesy. This one felt like I don't know what you call this, a biopic, I guess, or
yeah, or I mean, we could get into that as we talk about the movie. You could consider it like historical fiction, maybe, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of real life people in this movie, but it is, it's a comedy. It's a fictionalized version of true events.
Right. And most of the people, by the time this film came out, were dead, most of them. So they're probably, there's a lot of creative liberty.
Kind of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, if I could compare it to something recent.
What about Disaster Artist? That's what I was thinking.
Boom. That's another one.
I think both of those are really good comparisons. Especially with Once Upon a Time, because I remember when this came out, there were some controversies about the way certain people were portrayed. I remember Bela Lugosi's son was a little upset by some scenes in this movie that were, by all accounts, completely fictional. Like, some of his rants about Boris Karloff, I don't think those have any basis in fact. I mean, he may have been a bit jealous, and if you look at the way Lugosi was treated by like Universal towards the end of his life, he probably had good reason to be. But everything I've heard about Lugosi is he was a complete gentleman, especially on the set. So, they did have some fun here and there with the way people were portrayed.
I actually read that about his son, saying like he never swore. Like, where is all this swearing coming from? And then his follow-up is he didn't have any dogs either. It's like, I don't care about the dogs. Like, when he's like, children of the night, I got to feed them.
My favorite, actually, the thing that made me laugh the loudest is when he's like, "You fucking get down here then!" And he like yells.
No. The Boris Karloff line was my favorite part of this whole movie, when he's like, "Fuck Boris Karloff." Like when he's like sitting down all angry. Oh, dude. That was perfect.
Yeah, and he won an Oscar, it should be said, for this, and he's brilliant in it.
That's amazing.
When this came out, there seemed to be this whole like kind of classic monsters, Universal Monsters revival happening when I was a kid. They were all being re-released on video. I had like trading cards and comic books and
The postage stamps.
yeah, the postage stamps. I don't know what spurred this on. I always thought maybe it was because of Bram Stoker's Dracula, maybe.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of a big hit around the time, but I was really lucky. Like my uncle, who grew up a monster kid, kind of helped introduce me to a lot of old monster movies, and I was able to kind of know who all these people were before I saw Ed Wood. You know, I knew who Bela Lugosi and people who get name dropped, Boris Karloff and Basil Rathbone. I knew all these people. So this is a movie I was looking forward to. I think I saw Plan 9 from Outer Space before I saw this movie too, or definitely around this time.
Okay, I want to talk about that, but first, I'm actually kind of curious, Joe, because you definitely weren't 17 when this movie came out. So how did you see it? Because this is, for some reason, rated R. I don't really know why.
Yeah, I think just because of the language, really, or maybe Ed Wood dressing up as a woman might have rubbed people the wrong way too at the time.
Right.
But I actually tried to see this with a buddy of mine. I was maybe 12 or 13. We tried to get in and they wouldn't let us in. And, you know, I don't remember getting another chance to go with like my grandfather, because I think this movie was kind of in and out of theaters. At least that's how I remember it. I don't remember it being a big hit or sticking around too long. It got a little bit of Oscar love, you know, Martin Landau won, and I think it won Best Makeup, but I don't remember it being a big hit. So I caught up with it on video.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's really the only way you could do it. There's no streaming or, you know, illegal downloading.
No, I was just going to say, unfortunately on VHS too, not on Laserdisc. I know you were wondering, Eric.
I really was.
There's one thing we were talking about earlier. Obviously, this film is about basically the making of Plan 9 from Outer Space. And Eric, I know you're obviously a huge Disney fan, Disney World, all of that. You've been to the Sci-Fi Diner, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Dude. So this is such like a cool moment for me, because when I was a kid going to the Sci-Fi Diner in Disney World, you'd see all of these cool like B-50 movies, clips, and this Plan 9 from Outer Space was always there. They was featured so prominently, and I was always like, what the hell is this movie? Like, there's like a vampire woman getting shot, this bald guy getting shot like repeatedly, nothing's happening. And then to find out that there's a movie about the director and making that movie, I was like, last night I was so giddy. I was like freaking out.
It was like the Bela Lugosi thing. Joe, around that time, 1996 or 7 or whatever, when the resurgence of, at least that's when I remember with the stamps and everything, I was really into those old movies, like Lon Chaney Jr., Claude Rains, all that stuff. And I had no idea. So this was like a big like, oh shit, this is about Bela Lugosi. I had no like Ed Wood too, but you know what I mean. So I was really like you, Alec, very surprised.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna love it, Eric.
My uncle, who I mentioned before, he actually saw Plan 9 from Outer Space with my mom in theaters. I talked to him about that recently because the idea of that just kind of blows my mind. They were really, really young at the time. My mom, you know, I think she was like 6 or something. And I asked them, like, what was that like? Do you have any memories? And you know, my mom remembered being pretty shaken up by it. You know, she was little, she was a little kid. And my uncle remembered thinking that like the cemetery scenes were effective, but even he at the time noticed that it was quite jarring when it shifted from Bela Lugosi to his stand-in.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me about that even years ago when I was a little kid. I remember him telling me about this movie.
That's so funny. I actually watched like half of it this morning. I was like, you know what? I just want to like see what's going on. It's pretty bad, but I was laughing, dude. And it's so much funnier after seeing Ed Wood, you know, because if not, you're just kind of like, this is pretty terrible. But like knowing the kind of fictional context that went into the film, it makes it a lot more enjoyable, I think.
I was thinking, like, I feel like there's 3 movies that are really so bad they're good. There's like 3 main movies. It's Plan 9 from Outer Space, Troll 2, and The Room. You guys mentioned The Disaster Artist earlier. Yeah. I feel like those are like the big 3, the trifecta. But then I was thinking there is something unique about Plan 9. I feel like you could take certain images from Plan 9, like some of those cemetery scenes with Vampira, and you could put them like unironically on the cover of a book about like horror or sci-fi movies, and it would work, and you couldn't do that with like an image from Troll 2 and put it on a fantasy book, a coffee table book, or a book about dramas and put an image of The Room. I feel like there are really striking, iconic images from Plan 9, and that's not really true with most other so bad they're good movies.
That's Sci-Fi Diner for you. Like, it's just random Ed Wood shots back to back. It's not a movie. They don't play the movie.
No.
They just play like shots because you're eating food and talking with your family.
Right.
I've been to that place. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. But like you said, like those are like a bunch of pretty much like stock footage horror shots, and they're great.
And I think say what you want about Ed Wood. Obviously, he wasn't our most talented auteur, but he did craft some really cool imagery. Like if you know the band The Misfits, they use a lot of imagery from his movies, Vampira, shots of Vampira, and yeah, I mean he definitely left a pretty cool legacy.
Yeah, I mean it's a good idea because I mean it's interesting to see a movie. I'm sure there will one day be a biopic on like Martin Scorsese or George Lucas or something, and like that'll be interesting to see. But these are successful people. It is interesting to see somebody that's not. And everything you said, Joe, is 100% right. Like even though it is one of the big three so bad it's good movies, there is like actual value in it, and I don't know if you really can say the same thing about those other two. I distinctly remember as a kid the what's his name, Thor or whatever, Tor Johnson, him coming up out of the grave. 100% as a kid that stuck in my mind forever. It's so you're right.
Getting into the actual movie, Ed Wood, Eric, I know you're a big wrestling fan. Do you know who played Tor Johnson?
Oh hell yeah, Darren Sheik's rival, George the Animal Steel. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was. Do you remember the old? It was probably a little before your time, but the old big rubber wrestling action figures.
Oh yeah, like kind of stretchable.
Yeah, and they were huge. He was like one of the only ones I had, George the Animal Steel, and they actually like carved his hairy shoulders into the rubber.
No
it was
way.
Such a sweet action figure.
Yeah, you got to have that hairy back, dude. That hairy back is iconic.
Oh my god. Yeah, I was wondering like if Andre the Giant was still alive, like do you think they would have gone with him?
I think George Steele fought Andre at some point. Yeah.
And I think he's so perfect for this role. I mean, at least looks wise.
Right.
I mean, are you talking about playing him in the movie? Or...
Oh, I mean, like they wrestled each other in the ring, like in their career. That's what I meant. I didn't mean they fought each other.
Oh yeah.
They wrestled each other, in real life.
But yes, Joe, I meant the role. I don't know. I was just thinking like big kind of like Eastern European kind of guys. But that is the funniest part in the entire movie of Planet 9 or Plan 9 or whatever is how bad. You can't understand a word that guy says. Like you really can't. It's just complete garble-gook. And the point that they pointed that out in Ed Wood, they're like, "Why'd you pick this guy? Like he's unintelligible." And then you watch the real movie, and he really is. He says one line that you can understand. He's like, "I'm not the baby, Johnny." Like it's so bad.
I like that scene with him getting a massage, and he's just not eating a chicken drumstick, right? He's eating a whole rotisserie chicken like by hand, like a whole rotisserie chicken. Oh. Damn. Oh.
Yeah.
Something I really love about this movie is just like if you've ever been a part of any kind of creative endeavor, but especially like theater or film, like right from the get-go when Ed Wood is putting on this play and there's like a leak in the roof and there's barely anyone there. I mean, for me, this is just so relatable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
me and Alec are the king of taking one takes and moving on with the fucking movie we're making.
Well, with movies, but Eric, we were in theater together. I mean, we did theater in high school, and we, I did in college and stuff too. So I know exactly what you're talking about, Joe. Just no one's really there. It's just friends and parents. Like it's not any real audience.
Can anyone get a dining set from their parents? Like it's like I don't have anything to donate, so I got some plastic forks.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And there's just something so endearing about Ed Wood, when they open the newspaper and they're reading the terrible review and he's like, but look, they praise the costumes. That's positive. He's just such a great character. I mean, I think the movie takes a lot of liberties, but from everything I've heard about the real Ed Wood he was just a really great guy to be around.
Yeah, dude, I looked up a lot about him after this. Just a cool life, like a guy that's just like, I'm a dreamer. I've got a dream. I'm gonna make it happen no matter what. And so cool that he like bumps into Bela Lugosi, like his real boyhood like fantasy, like kind of coming true, which is really cool. But Jesus Christ, his the end of his life was pretty brutal. Do you know much about it?
Yeah,
do,
I mean,
yeah.
just a bit. Yeah, I mean, I always get a little misty-eyed at the end of
Yeah.
this movie because Plan 9 didn't really have a premiere the way this movie presents it. You know, I mean, they try to give it kind of a happy ending, but the kind of melancholy music that's playing almost communicate that this story doesn't really have a happy ending. And then when the text pops up and it says, you know, Ed continued to struggle in Hollywood and eventually, you know, died from his alcoholism. I mean, yeah, it's sad, but it's probably not an uncommon Hollywood story, you know?
No.
Question for you, Joe and Alec. When that scene with Orson Welles, did that happen or was that him dreaming?
Completely fictional.
So he's picturing that. Do you think he pictures his premiere too?
That's a really interesting take. Yeah, I think you could almost take it that way. I think that's really interesting. I never thought of that, but there are moments in this movie that they could be a dream for sure. And he's such a dreamer, it works.
Because that seems too crazy. Like the Bela Lugosi thing, you're like, whoa, like that's insane. But for him to then meet his other second, like, you know, guy that he's look up to in a bar, like it does seem a little bit of a stretch. But still, what a great supporting cast. I mean, you recognize everybody.
Oh, dude. You got the Dumb and Dumber ulcer guy. You got everyone.
yeah, exactly.
No, but the titling sequence is awesome.
Very Tim Burton.
Yeah, but it's not Danny Elfman.
No,
It's Howard Shore, which it had like Mars Attack vibes kind of music, which was Danny Elfman. But I love the title sequence because it brings you through all the genres of horror, and it's just like you said, Alec, dropping a bombshell cast, just like, hey, we got Jen Depp, we got and Howard Shore, and it's like, oh my god, what a ensemble movie. Vincent D'Onofrio as Orson Welles. Like, what?
Yeah,
I mean, when this movie starts with that slow zoom into like the haunted house miniature, I mean, it's just like, oh, I'm going to love this movie. It's as simple as that. I'm going to love this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting you mentioned that Elfman didn't participate in this one. And I remember hearing that he had some kind of falling out with Burton. And I actually looked into that today.
Ooh.
And the information that I found was that before this, Burton was working on Nightmare Before Christmas. And I don't know if you guys know, but Elfman is Jack Skellington's singing voice.
Yes.
Right.
And he was supposed to be the speaking voice as well, but they decided on
Chris Sarandon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So apparently that didn't sit too well with Elfman. And there was a little bit of a falling out, but they did eventually mend things because he came back from Mars Attacks.
That makes sense. That actually, because that would have been 93. So like, it was striking when it says music and it did not say by Danny Elfman. Mm-hmm. Also, speaking of which, I guess I didn't know this, but the woman who plays Vampira, Lisa Marie, I guess that was his girlfriend or his wife at the time.
His wife. Later, after this movie, I think they married.
Okay, so it's kind of funny because Tim Burton's life, in a weird way, almost mirrors Ed Wood with his current wife, who was in Planet of the Apes, who had a smaller role in that, and then he ends up falling in love with Helena Bonham Carter. You know, so it's almost kind of like Sarah Jessica Parker's character had a smaller role in his next film. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure. Ed would have loved just a fraction of his success.
Right.
But yeah, it is similar. And Lisa Marie, she ended up being in a few of his movies. She was one of the aliens in Mars Attacks, and she was Ichabod Crane's mom in Sleepy Hollow.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Well, she's also Nova in the Planet of the Apes remake that he did.
Oh, that's Helena Bonham. Oh, no. Never mind. Helena Bonham Carter is the ape.
Yeah, and the woman that Mark Wahlberg falls in love with, isn't that her?
I don't think that's her.
Oh, maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just kind of thought it was interesting that, like, his muse or whatever kind of changes in his movies, just like Ed Wood, I guess.
Yeah. And speaking of his significant other, a little more controversy, the woman who Sarah Jessica Parker plays, Dolores Fuller, I think was her name, was pretty unhappy about that portrayal. First, because Sarah Jessica Parker never reached out. And second, because she's kind of made the villain, in the movie. I understand why they did it because, I mean, you need to create drama and you need to want him to get with Patricia Arquette. When he meets her, it's like, he's finally found his soulmate,
Yeah, she is not the villain, but she's like the realist. He was like, what the hell is wrong with you people? You're making such terrible movies.
Right.
Like, and it's
and I think she said she was very supportive of Ed and, they remained friends afterwards. So, I get it.
Yeah, you wonder though, like if you're writing a movie like this or directing this and you are going to kind of do that and you're like, I don't really know if this is how this person was, but let's just do it. You might want to reach out to them and be like, can we talk? Like, can we just kind of figure this out? But again, who knows? Who knows what really
whose family is happy with a biopic? Is there like maybe Ray Charles movie? I don't know.
No, Bruce Lee's family flipped out at Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, it got really bad.
Oh, relax.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I mean, you say that, but then, like, what if they made a movie about, like, your dad, Eric? And then it was like, that's not...
It's fictional.
Yeah, but that's not what a lot of people think,
That's how you gotta say it. It's like, it's the most fictional thing ever.
Yeah, I could understand that.
I could see where both sides are coming from. But, I think that this movie probably helped introduce a whole new generation, not only to Ed Wood, but to Bela Lugosi, and probably the same thing for Bruce Lee with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I like to think people are smart enough to know that certain creative liberties are taken with these movies, but maybe I'm giving people too much credit. I don't know.
Two questions I have for you, Joe. Maybe you can answer this. One of the biggest parts of this movie that really made me think was when Bela Lugosi is standing in that river and he's just like, I could have been Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Is that true? Does that hold water? Like was he offered Frankenstein?
That has long been considered fact, but I've actually recently kind of heard theories that push back against that. So, these things happened so long ago and who knows?
There's no written documents. I'm sure there's no email trail.
There is a very early Frankenstein poster that does have his name on it. So there definitely were talks. And the story goes that he turned down the role because he didn't want to wear the makeup. He just had a big hit with Dracula. But, I've heard different things. Then I've heard that James Whale, the director of Frankenstein, never seriously considered Lugosi. And I've heard, Lugosi was definitely not picky about movies, so he most likely would have taken Frankenstein. So, that's the thing. I mean, who really knows? I think for that moment in the movie, it's perfect.
It really made me think like he's really having a crisis at that moment. Like,
I definitely think, Frankenstein, the success of that movie did have a huge negative impact on Lugosi's career. That's for sure.
Yeah, he became the new face of horror real quick. Quick.
I have two questions for you too, Joe.
I have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My bad.
The other question I had is it true that Bela Lugosi was considered the first celebrity who went to rehab?
I think that is true.
That's
but
wild.
I can't swear to that, but I think that's legit.
Baller.
Damn. That is kind of crazy though. Yeah, like I had no idea that Bela Lugosi got into like methane or oh my god, not methane. Morphine.
Methadone.
Methadone.
Both.
Yeah.
He bounced around. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. Because I'm like, I didn't really think people did stuff like that back then. I'm pretty ignorant, I guess. Vampira though, like, how did Elvira not get sued?
Well, I think she did.
They said that at the end of the movie, but she won. She must have had better lawyers.
I know she sued, but like, how did she not win? Because that's like, hey, she's dressed like me. Hey, she's interrupting movies like me and doing commentary. Like, it's almost the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think the main difference, and I know nothing about that case, by the way, but now that you mention, I kind of want to look into it. I think the main difference was their personality. Like, Elvira played it like a kind of a bimbo. She played against type, whereas Vampira kind of leaned into the kind of gothic. She wasn't playing against the image. So maybe that was the big difference, but I have no idea.
Elvira also dated Elvis, so she put an ELV at the front of the name. So
yeah, wow. The other thing is, why don't you guys think this movie's on Disney Plus? This is a Touchstone movie. It came out in the 90s. Touchstone is Disney. You know, I'm kind of curious. Why do you guys think?
Well, isn't that something they're still figuring out if they're going to put like more adult content on there?
Adult Swim version of Disney Plus.
Well, they have Hulu, which is Disney, so they could always put that on there. But yeah, I guess, well, I feel like I signed on recently and it was like, do you want to like look at the mature stuff? And I was like, what does that mean? But yeah.
It's like the old video stores where you go, behind the curtain.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, for Disney, I don't know. I was like, what does that mean? And this still wasn't on there. So I'm wondering, this movie does have some dialogue that, obviously is of the time back in the 50s. But I don't know if in today's climate, especially with Disney and hot water right now, they could kind of get away with some of the homophobic slurs and the transphobic stuff. I don't know. I just was curious what you guys thought.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't given it much thought. I wish this movie was more readily available. I think, obviously I love this movie. I wish it could reach a bigger audience, but it does seem to be one of those that, yeah, I never seem to find it streaming.
No, it's like never anywhere. So I was just kind of curious. I really thought this would be on Disney Plus, and there I am paying for it on Amazon. So I was like, what's going on?
And maybe they're figuring out Touchstone or whatever, like the rights. Did they just recently acquire them? Like
no. They've always Touchstone is it's always been Disney.
Touchstone used to be where Disney would release their more adult oriented titles until I think they owned Hollywood Pictures too, and I think they got rid of all that, and now they just focus on Pixar and
Miramax.
Oh yeah, they owned Miramax too. Yeah. Like, it's funny to think what Disney used to be compared to what they are now.
Seriously.
I guess to answer your question, I'm just surprised it's not on Hulu then, Alec.
Right.
I mean, I don't see it on Disney Plus, but Hulu, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of wondering if Disney's kind of like, listen, we've had our controversy with Johnny Depp. This is, so like,
yeah, that could be it.
I don't know. I'm just kind of curious because it's a great movie. It's got unbelievable reviews, Oscar wins. Like, it's Tim Burton. Everybody knows Tim Burton. So I'm just kind of like, why does it feel like they're burying a movie?
Maybe it's in the Disney vault. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Like movies would release on Blu-ray and then it'd go away.
Oh, my God.
Like, it's in the vault. You can't get it anymore, but you can pay for it.
If we don't buy Bambi right now, it could be 20 years.
This is the platinum one. It's different than the diamond one. It's different than yeah, that was Disney, man. I'm telling you. Genius.
That's why I still got some of my physical media. I know why you guys laugh at me, but
get your Betamax and your damn what's the discs or whatever, laser discs.
Dude, I'm not laughing. I've got every single original Disney McDonald's glass, like the mugs.
I do too, dude. I do too. That's my Christmas china, bro. That is like my God. Straight up. I get the Lord of the Rings goblets from Burger King too.
Okay.
The ones that light up.
Yeah, so you got a very fancy Thanksgivings and Christmases.
That's how I drink my eggnog.
Oh my God. Joe, this was an amazing movie. Thank you so much for recommending it and talking us through it. Do you guys have any last minute thoughts?
You know what? I got one last thing.
Let me go first. You deserve the last thought. You deserve the
last
thought.
All right, go for it.
My thoughts are stupid, and I don't want to follow you. First of all, Orson Welles was 26 when he made Citizen Kane. That's crazy.
Yeah.
2, I love the Sarah Jessica Parker makes that face like a horse joke. You hear that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, she said it first. Everyone's like made that joke, like South Park, and people have made that joke. Oh, she looks like a horse. She said it, so it's like right from the horse's mouth. All right.
She said it, and someone else wrote it, but yeah.
All right. And also the withdrawal scene with Bela Lugosi. Withdrawals suck. I just want to point that out. But that's all I got. Oh, and also getting hit in the head with a cast iron skillet. I think he'd be dead. But that's just me.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Joe, you go.
I was just going to say, I think this is such a great LA movie. And Alec, you could probably speak to that better than me. I think when I just think about LA, this movie just captures the essence of it. I guess Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is another one of those movies. But, and this movie might have even kind of tainted my perception of LA when I was a kid as a kind of a town of broken dreams. And it's probably why I've spent most of my adult life in the New York area while always kind of toying with the idea of moving to LA.
California dreaming.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
Joe.
but I don't know. What do you think, Alec? Do you think this is like one of those quintessential LA movies?
Yeah, I really do. When I was watching it, I felt the same way. I'm like, this just invokes such a sense of what built this town and just the old Hollywood mentality, the dreamer, the person that came. They're like, I have big aspirations. I'm going to leave Poughkeepsie and come out here and do this. Like,
Hmm.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that little monologue he has at the fair.
Ugh.
It's perfect.
It's no, you're right though, Joe. And the one line that I'm sitting there and Bela Lugosi's in the car and he's just like, this city just chews you up and spits you out and uses you. And that it is true. If you don't have something to offer Hollywood, this being,
Mhm.
then yeah, it doesn't care about you. So it is such like a fool's errand doing this,
Mhm.
but I love it. You know, it keeps you alive, I feel like.
Mhm. And there's one last thing, if I may.
Please.
This movie just reminded me how like true like cult classics, these so bad they're good movies, they can't be made cynically. Like if you scroll through like the bowels of Netflix or God, even some movies that had some hand in back in my younger days, like I think there's a thought that, well, worst case scenario, we'll end up with just some kind of like so bad it's good movie. But so bad it's good movies are as rare as like great movies,
Right.
you know, and it's because they really have to be made with passion. Like, you know, if you look at Plan 9 or if you look at The Room or if you look at Troll 2, like these movies are made by really passionate filmmakers, not really talented filmmakers, but they're made with the best of intentions, not cynical intentions.
You see the effort. You see the effort.
Yeah, 100%. Like if you watch Plan 9, there's some like really crazy monologues that the aliens have. They're like, who wrote this shit? I mean, and the key though is it's not trying to be funny. It's not cynical. It's not winking at you. Like he probably thought he was writing The Day the Earth Stood Still. And that's one of the reasons it's so great.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right though. There is something special about it because there's so many bad movies that people just it's like Thanksgiving, Eric. I guess that's kind of like the weird way that bridges the gap of like it's so bad it's good and it's also just really bad.
Because that one's just raunchy.
Yeah.
Raunchy's different than bad is good.
Yeah, no. Plan 9, I was enjoying it when I was watching. It was weird seeing the stock footage though, like superimposed with just other stuff he filmed. So
Yo, stock footage, we got to get into that business, dude.
yeah,
Like
I mean,
that old guy had it right. Like back then, like I got this footage of octopuses, and like that's like back then. If you had that, it's like, oh, how much you want for it?
but yeah, seriously, with no internet or anything, people are just like, whoa, it kind of looks real.
Yeah, he's just going around shooting shit in the ocean. Oh, I got this great stuff, and like that became the Ed Wood film. Like,
You know, sorry, I know we're going a little over here, but there's one thing I just want to ask you too, Joe, just kind of about Tim Burton. I'm just interested in him because there's not much on Wikipedia about him, but he's a guy from Burbank. You know, he's right on the outskirts of Hollywood. He's in Hollywood, Burbank Studios. All these things are here. He's growing up around it, and he's in a place that's so bright and beautiful, and it's like on the surface, it's awesome. But he's such a dark guy, and he's telling the story of basically his hometown and a failure in his hometown. You know, I don't know. I like that about Tim Burton.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at all of his movies, you know, I mean, this isn't exactly a hot take, but they're all about misfits. And often they're in settings that are kind of bright and beautiful, like Edward Scissorhands or LA in this movie, but there's kind of something dark and rotten underneath. And you could make that case for like The Neighbors and Edward Scissorhands, or just like Hollywood as an industry in this movie. And I think that's how he felt growing up. We got into this a little bit in Edward Scissorhands, but the neighborhood he grew up in, everything looked perfect on the outside, but everyone kept their dirty little secrets hidden.
Yeah. You'd think just looking at him and seeing his movies that he grew up in like some gothic place in like Romania, but you're like, no, he grew up in Burbank. It was like sunny. It was next door to Del Taco.
can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah. But I don't know. Very awesome director. And it's so good to have somebody like you, Joe, who just kind of like grew up watching his films coming out so fresh and just observing his career, so always good to have you.
One last point too. This movie, you could really kick Ed Wood while he's down and go into the darkness of like how he got into nudie films and his alcoholism. He doesn't do that. He just straight up tells a story of him, and without the dark side of Ed Wood. for the most
Yeah.
part, it's like respectable to do it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is almost like a fairy tale, and I feel like you could sense the darkness at the end of the movie. But like you said, Eric, it is almost like you're seeing it through his eyes and watching his dreams.
Yeah, he doesn't know what his failure doesn't exist. It's like it's not there. So
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Last thing.
We said last thing 3 times.
I know. They awarded Ed Wood the worst director of all time 2 years after he died. That's pretty mean. Like, why?
Yeah, it is. And I've heard that review, like whatever it is, I don't know if it was in a book or what, the Golden Turkey Awards, whatever it was that named Plan 9 the worst movie of all time. You know, I've heard it was pretty rude, but you know what? If it wasn't for that, we probably wouldn't have this conversation right now. This movie probably wouldn't have been made. It was, you know, that movie getting that title that kind of started the whole Ed Wood renaissance. So there's that.
Hell yeah. I like that.
It's true.
That's a good take.
It's true.
A good take, Joe.
But seriously, he was born 98 years ago, and here we are talking about him. So, hey, good for Ed Wood. Oh, no, wait, was he born in 24? Yeah, anyways. All right. This was awesome. This was so fun to talk about. Really quick, we're going to do something in the near future. I don't have an exact date, but we're going to start doing a little separate wheel with Joe, and we don't have a title for it yet, but Joe has hand-selected some obscure horror films, and I'm very excited to talk with you about them, so that will be coming out soon. Joe, do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about some cult classics today, so I think, you know, maybe I'll dig around for some more. Nothing too obscure, but maybe something a little unusual. We'll see.
All right. Well, I'm very excited. That will be coming in the near future. No 100% date yet, but very soon. And before we end, Eric, we get to spin a new wheel.
This is great. I get so excited. Every passing wheel, you know, I get very excited. All right, do you want me to spin it?
Dude, let's do it.
Pull it up. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Spinning. Oh boy, it's a little different. Ghost Ship.
Yes. Finally.
I've never seen this.
Finally. You've never seen this, Eric?
No.
Joe, have you ever seen Ghost Ship?
That's a new one on me too.
Oh, it's so bad, but it's got a special place in my heart, and Justin's too. So I don't know if he's going to jump on for that one because he loves it for some reason too. So, anyways, Joe, thank you again, everybody. If you haven't had a chance yet, we had our episode Fresh, which came out on Friday with Fresh Film Fridays, and then we will see you guys next week with Ghost Ship.
Hell yeah! Happy spring, Joe. By the way, Alec, you're in California, so you don't really get spring. You just get nice weather. But happy spring, Joe.
Eric, appreciate it.
Woo!